Inserting data into a table is accomplished through the use of a SQL insert statement. The basic insert statement includes the name of the table we want to insert into, a list of columns to update, and a set of values to insert into those columns. The column list tells the insert statement which specific columns will be updated by the command. Remember, some columns may have default or nullable values. Those columns don't need to be included in the insert statement if you just want to use the default. But if you want to override the defaults, you would still need to include them. Furthermore, when using an ORM, the order you specify your fields in code may be different from what you use to create the columns in the table. By providing the columns explicitly, the database is able to determine exactly which values map to which columns, even if they're provided in a different order. Technically, the list of columns is optional. However, if you choose to omit it, there are some details you should be aware of. Without the column list to go by, the statement has to assume some order for the values. It will use the column ordering that was defined when the table was created. It also assumes that you will be providing values for every column. Keep in mind how this might impact your statement if your table evolves. If you add or remove a column from the table, then you have potentially broken the insert statement. In general, be explicit with your column list in order to alleviate some of this future pain. The values provided will be inserted into the database in the corresponding column. So the first value will be inserted into the first column, and so on. This means that it is critical that the values in columns match up. If there is a mismatch, often it will generate an error in the SQL execution. However, if the types happen to match up despite the mismatch, no error will be generated. For example, if you accidentally reverse the first and last name in this statement, no error would occur. Instead, you would just insert incorrect data. Therefore, it is critical to ensure that your columns and values match. It's also possible to do multiple inserts in a single statement. These bulk inserts can be more efficient than individual statements. However, it does mean that if a failure occurs, the entire batch of inserts will be rolled back. Determining when to use a bulk insert becomes a balance between optimizing for performance and dealing with possible failures. For application use, often a bulk insert isn't realistic. Users are frequently just updating a single record at a time, and buffering those updates in order to perform a bulk insert can cause undesired behaviors. However, for performing operations such as data migrations or backfills, a bulk insert can save a significant amount of time. To do a bulk insert, you simply include additional value lists separated by a comma. As a best practice, even large bulk inserts should be separated into smaller chunks. For example, you might divide your data into groups of 100 records. That way you benefit from the bulk insert, but if a failure occurs, you don't have to start from scratch, just from the last batch.